and we are off the coast of Encinitas by KMYF intersection here in San Diego. So at this point in the exam, the examiner is going to say, okay, let's take me back to Montgomery. So in order to do that, we're going to go ahead and just start making a shallow 180, and I'm going to tune the ATIS for our destination airport of Montgomery, as well as tune SoCal approach for this area, which is 127.3. And that is on our active, so we'll go ahead and listen on
Montgomery FLD information X-ray. 2100 Zulu weather. Wind calm, visibility more than 10. Sky clear, temperature 14, dew point -15. Altimeter 2992. Arriving runways 28 right, 28 left, 23, departing runways 28 right, 28 left, 23. Advise on initial contact, you have X-ray.
Okay, so information X-ray, using runways 28 right, altimeter 2992. Make sure you jot all that down before you do your approach. Have a pen and paper handy on your kneeboard. So right now we're just going to turn towards a heading towards our prominent destination so we can reference it when contacting ATC. So we're already on 127.3. There's nobody talking right now, obviously, because it's a simulator and there's nobody here but me. So we'll go ahead and call out and say, good afternoon, SoCal approach from Tecnam 739 Tango Alpha, about 2 miles to the west of Encinitas, 5,300 eastbound VFR request. And they would say, Twin Tecnam 739 Tango Alpha, go ahead. I would say, Tecnam 739 Tango Alpha is type Papa 2006 Tango slant golf request VFR practice approach into Montgomery, the ILS 28 right, full stop. We have information X-ray. Alright, so now that we've done that, they would give us a squawk code. They would say radar contact, mile off Encinitas, turn right heading 100, send and maintain 4,500. We write that down, so 100, and start descending towards 4,500. And they give us a squawk code, I don't know, like 0275. So I would start descending, getting my heading set up to my target altitude of 4,500. Just a nice gradual descent on 100, and they gave me 0275, so I would put that down here. Alright, now that's in. Well, it looks like the out part went off on it. Go ahead and put that on. There we are. Okay, thanks, Michael. That was my son handing me things. Alright. So we're starting our descent. We're on a heading of 100. And then they go ahead and give us another heading. They say turn right heading 120. And usually this is Montgomery. They always do this. They try to vector us to final. They don't want us going all the way back to do the full approach. They like to vector us in for sequencing. So we're nice, maintaining a nice 500 foot per minute descent, going about 107 knots. So let's go ahead, and now that we're essentially, we got our squawk code, got an altitude and a heading right now. We're just following it, monitoring our engine instruments, and I'm gonna go ahead and do the approach brief. Alright, so the way we're going to brief this approach is you always start with the right hand side and verify that your chart is within date, and we see that it expires October 2020. Today's the 24th of September, so we're still good. And we identify the ILS or localizer runway 28 right for Montgomery Gigs Executive KMYF. The localizer DME frequency is 111.905. And you can see right here we have 111.905 tuned in, 281 degrees. Our one-way landing lengths are 3,399 feet with a touchdown zone elevation of 423 feet. ATIS is 126.9. SoCal approach is 124.35. Montgomery Tower is 119.2. Ground is 118.225. See over here that we have our comms tuned in and ATIS. Now we go ahead and look at the plan view. We're going to obviously be vectored first, is what happens most of the time. but I always like to pick an initial approach fix, so we would start out at Bakel. More than likely we're going to get vectored between Nesty and Penny, but we'll go ahead and start from Bakel, from 4,200 and of course 1906 to Mibby. At that point, at Mibby we'll be at 4,200. We're then allowed to descend to 3,600 over here on a course of 281. Where we get to Nesty from 11.2 miles from IMYF at 3,600. After crossing Nesty, you can descend via the glide slope to 2,500 to Penny, final approach fix, 7 miles from IMYF, where we would start our timer if it's required. And you can go ahead and look at the lower left-hand area below the taxi diagram that you see for our approach speed of 90 knots, which we'll go for today. We'd require 4 minutes and 12 seconds. Anyhow, from Penny, we go down to Palos, 3.6, 1,380 if we're on the glide slope. IMYF, 1.8 is the vertical descent point. And then from there down to our decision altitude of 673 feet for the ILS. If we lose the glide slope, we would use localizer, which is 820 feet. Personally, for my minimums, if I get past the vertical descent point or at it and I don't see the runway, that's when I would go missed, because I'd rather make a stabilized approach rather than rush down in an unstabilized approach. The missed approach, should we have to conduct it, is a climbing on runway heading to 1,100, then a climbing left turn to 3,000 on a heading of 270 degrees. Intercept Mission Bay Vortec 326 radial direct to KMYF at 13.6 DME and hold. You can also identify that intersection by tuning in Julian on 114.0 for radial 246. And you can see it is a non-standard holding pattern with a direct entry into KMYF and a left-hand track. And then you would of course ask the examiner any questions that they would have about the approach, which they shouldn't. That covered everything very nicely. Already have the tower tuned in down here. Might as well go ahead and put the ground here. But we just busted through our altitude. We want to climb here. Get our power back. Don't want to break through your altitudes when going flying instrument. Alright, there we go. We got tower and ground. We got our current SoCal approach and the next SoCal approach. We're just on our heading now and waiting. Not trying to go too fast, just trying to going a little fast right now. We want to be around 100 knots, no rush. So at this point, I should probably just keep myself zoom in here to simulate having the hood on. Already got my GPS set up. I put the ILS 28 right into the flight plan there. And I selected the initial approach fix of Bakel to start off at. That was briefed earlier. So we're just following our headings. And I'm going to try to simulate as best I can them vectoring us between Nesty and Penny points, so as best simulate them vectoring me in. So the approach brief is complete, our comm is set up, our nav is set up, we have our altimeter set, we brief the approaches. Sorry, I got a lot of children distracting me here. We identified our final approach course, our touchdown zones. Our configuration is set up. Let's go ahead and double check that down here, make sure. I better get back to my altitude. That's what I need to do first. There we are. CDI for localizer 1 is 2A1 and localizer 2 is 2A1. Go ahead and keep it on localizer 1. For our flight plan, we'll just go ahead and put what intersection we know they're going to be vectoring us around, so I have an idea of how to, you know, vector myself. So I'll go ahead and select Penny and put direct to, activate that, put that. Put that down here. There we go. Now we can see where Penny is at all times, and it'll give us an idea of how to vector ourselves in. So we're doing pretty good here, maintaining altitude. They usually like to bring us down at this point, so they'll probably say something like 739 Tango Alpha, descend and maintain 3,500. So I'll go ahead and descend down to 3,500. Make sure you write all of this stuff down. Any vectors, any headings they give you and altitudes, lock them on and keep them. 1,000 here is that it identifies your localizer for you up there. KMYF, that's what we're looking for. Let's go ahead and put our target altitude here, 3,500. Don't need to go very fast. The slower I go, the more time it gives me to think and double check anything I miss. It's a very expensive check ride. You don't want to mess up. Instruments. We can see Penny's intersection slowly moving off to our right on the CDI needle down there on the HSI. Where they like to vector us is generally just south of the Class D ring for Gillespie Field. And we can see down here that Gillespie KSEE is coming up. Always have a good idea of where your emergency landing fields might be, in case anything goes awry. Alright, since now's as good as time as any to do some of the items of the before landing checklist while I have a moment. Let's go ahead and make sure our seatbelts are fastened. Check to make sure our chokes are up, which they are. Carbon pitot heat as required. Fuel pumps, we'll go ahead and put those on right now. There's the right one, there's the left one. Lights, we have our landing light on. It's below 10,000 feet. You should have it on. And that's all the items for the before landing checklist we can do now. On final and short final, we can do the last remaining items. So as we get closer, we see Penny coming even closer off to our right wing. When it gets to around the 210 to 240 bearing, that's when we want to start turning in to vector. That's my son screaming in the background. Autopilot here, just all hand flying. That localizer's coming alive there. Still don't have any glide slope indicating yet. Nice steady speed for now, 100. That's a good speed to start off at this point in the approach.
The more fucks I've tried to get, I'm over my fuck budget and I'm now in fucking debt.
Alright, at this point they would start vectoring me in. They would say 739 Tango Alpha, turn right heading 130, turn right heading to 130, make sure you write all this down. Running it down on my knee board, and I would immediately start a standard rate turn to that direction. right. At this point, they would tell me turn right heading 250, maintain 3,500 until intercepting the localizer, contact Montgomery Tower, 119.2. Have a great day. I would repeat all that back and stay on frequency until established. So we'll go ahead and do a nice turn to the right. Still no glide slope up yet, so we'll keep an eye on that. Should we keep our altitude here? Got to maintain this till established. Ride all of it down. Helps to have heading bugs for your altitude and heading, but it's always important to ride it down too. Everything's all set up, and there's the glide slope. It's alive. It shows that we're a little high on the glide slope now. There's no problem for now. We're just going to intercept the localizer here. 250. You know what? That's a little bit steep. Let's go ahead and do 235 or 230. That would be better. Alright, let me double check. My little timer I have next to me is set to the proper time. Ooh, losing a little altitude here. Staying right here. Well, regulations dictate that you really shouldn't descend until established, but we're going to go ahead and just kind of bend the rules a little bit, mix it up. I'm going to start descending just a little bit, and I'm going to start slowing up as well. Want to get it down to about 90, so our timer will match for our missed approach back up. There we are, getting to about 90. We're on our heading. Start descending a little bit to get on our glide slope. Looks like the localizer is coming in. I see it, saw it move a second ago. Just gonna keep this descent. Alright, there's the localizer. We'll start a gentle turn inbound. Just match it up real nice. A little more power. Going a little fast, getting above the glide slope. There we are, we're on the localizer, we're on the glide slope, we're established. Should we go ahead and switch over to Montgomery Tower? And I'd say Montgomery Tower, Twin Tecnam 739 Tango Alpha on the ILS, 2A right, full stop. They would say Twin Tecnam 739 Tango Alpha, continue. And we're a couple, just about 0.8 miles away from Penny. That's where we're going to start our timer, and that's our final approach fix. We're at 90 knots. But then, oh no, looks like somebody just pulled one of my engines. Oh, which one is it? I don't know. I'm maintaining directional control. Adjusting power as required. I'm bringing my props to full. Bringing my flaps up, my gears up. Identifying that my left foot is dead, so that must be my left engine. So I would go ahead and secure my left engine. Looks like my left engine throttle is secured. I'm below 3,000, so I'm going to need to feather it. And at this point, the examiner would set up my control so that they would be feathered. So I saw my instructor doing this and this before, and we'll just use that. It should bring me about 8 inches of manifold pressure, or 7, I guess in this case, and I'm only touching the right-hand throttle. At this point, I would continue. I'm at 90 knots. I'm on my glide slope. I'm still on my course, so that's good. I'm just going to keep this right-hand engine power setting and let ATC know of my situation. I say Mayday, 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 Twin Tecnam 739 Tango Alpha. Left-hand engine failure, declaring an emergency. How many fuel hours of fuel I have on board? About 4. I would say 2 souls, me and my examiner or instructor. Wouldn't actually do that call, but that's how I would do it. Looks like I can bring power back just a scotch. You don't want to bring back too much power because it drastically affects your sink rate since you just lost all that induced flow on your left engine. Just trying to maintain a 0 side slip here, 90 knots as I descend through. It looks like I missed my opportunity to hit my timer, so I'm just going to have to go off my decision altitude. It all happened very fast. Alright, so we're about 4 miles out from runway 2A right. Let's try to stay on our course. You don't want more than 3/4 of a deflection, otherwise that's an automatic fail. So I'm going to go ahead and add a little power and bring the gear down. Should bring me in a lot of drag, bring me down to where I need to be. Alright, there we are. Getting back on course over here. Ooh, it looks like I need a lot of power to keep things going. Maintaining that 0 side slip, trying to keep it at 90. Trying to stay on course. I need to scooch over. I don't want any margin of error here. I want to be on the localizer so that I don't get anywhere near that 3/4 defection that could fail me. Increase power. Maintaining above blue line at the very bare minimum. Want to stay right now I'm below glide slope. I need to stay at least above it. That's the minimum standard here. So we got 1,360 going for 673 as briefed. 4 landing checklist, power set, gears down, 3 gain, choke is set, carb heat, prop are set. Flaps I'm going to set on short final. And ooh, we're getting below blue line, don't want to do that. Flaps set, fuel pumps are on, landing lights on, that's seatbelts are on, and we are in a more or less stabilized approach. There we are, back where I want it to be. There we are, 920 for 673. Straighten all this out real quick. There we are. Really losing this fight here close to the end. Alright, there it is, about 680 feet, bringing the first notch of flaps in. And there we are, right off course, where we shouldn't be. Hopefully that would be close enough. Make sure even though you have the runway in sight, you maintain this glide slope and localizer. Right, we have the field made. Let's keep that airspeed at blue line. Kind of hard to do. Alright, let's bring flaps to full now that we have it made. I'm going to do a single engine landing, just manipulating the right throttle. 3 green, gear down. Landing. Power's been at idle. There we are, right on center line. Flaps coming up. Applying some brakes. Alright, focus on taxiing. Alright, we've exited to a right at, looks like, Mike. Typical exit spot. Let's go ahead and bring the fuel pumps to off. Landing light off, and flaps are all the way up. And that is the single engine approach